Fanaticism. It's one of the strangest, most dangerous, and yet most human states of mind. It shapes nations, topples governments, builds religions, and destroys them. It lives in politics, in sports, in art, in belief. And though we like to think of it as something that happens to other people, the truth is, the seed of fanaticism is in all of us. So, why do people become fanatics? What turns belief into obsession, passion into blindness, conviction into war? Let's start with something uncomfortable. Fanaticism begins where uncertainty ends. The human brain hates ambiguity. We are wired to seek patterns, to find meaning in chaos. Psychologists call it cognitive closure, the desire for firm answers, for order, for simplicity. When the world feels complex or threatening, certainty becomes intoxicating. Fanaticism offers that certainty. It says you are right, you are chosen, you belong. And once the mind accepts that, it defends it like oxygen. Neurologically, fanaticism is powered by the same circuits that sustain addiction. The amygdala, our emotional alarm system, fires in response to perceived threats. The ventral striatum releases dopamine when we feel righteous or victorious. Every act of defending the truth gives the brain a hit of pleasure, a chemical reward for moral certainty. That's why arguing with a fanatic rarely works. You're not debating logic. You're interrupting a neurochemical loop. But fanaticism doesn't arise in isolation. It thrives in environments of fear, scarcity, and identity crisis. History shows this pattern again and again. When societies feel unstable, economically, politically, morally, fanatic movements rise. They offer simplicity in the face of chaos, belonging in the face of alienation, meaning in the face of emptiness. Erich Fromm, the psychoanalyst, called this escape from freedom. When freedom feels too heavy, too full of doubt and responsibility, people retreat into ideology. It's easier to obey than to question, easier to follow than to think. Fanaticism is a comfort mechanism. It replaces fear with certainty, loneliness with belonging, and confusion with mission. That's why it's so emotionally satisfying. It feels like clarity, like purpose, like truth. The fanatic doesn't think they're evil, they think they've been enlightened. But there's a paradox. Fanaticism often grows out of good impulses. The desire to make a difference, to stand for something, to belong to a cause. Social psychologists like Henry Tajfel have shown that humans divide the world into in-groups and out-groups with shocking ease. Even arbitrary groups, people wearing red shirts versus blue shirts, begin to favor their own. It's an evolutionary reflex. In the ancient world, loyalty meant survival. Tribes that trusted each other thrived. Those that didn't vanished. Fanaticism hijacks that instinct. It inflates loyalty into purity. It turns belonging into division. And once identity fuses with ideology, attacking the belief feels like attacking the self. That's the psychological core of fanaticism. The merger of belief and identity. You no longer have an idea. The idea has you. The social dimension makes it even stronger. Fanatic groups reinforce each other through echo chambers, closed systems of validation. Inside them, agreement equals virtue. Doubt equals betrayal. Online, algorithms magnify this exponentially. Social media rewards outrage with visibility. Anger spreads faster than nuance. And every like, every retweet, every heart releases another microdose of dopamine, rewarding extremity. In digital tribes, fanaticism isn't just emotional. It's profitable. But not all fanaticism is destructive. There's a difference between dedication and delusion. A scientist obsessed with a cure, an artist driven by a vision. They live on the edge of fanatic energy. What separates them from the zealot is the capacity for doubt. Doubt is oxygen. It keeps belief alive. Without it, conviction suffocates into dogma. True devotion questions itself. Fanaticism cannot. Let's look at the biology again. When someone's core beliefs are challenged, brain scans show activity in the insula and anterior cingulate cortex, regions linked to pain and conflict. Literally, being proven wrong hurts. The brain experiences cognitive dissonance as a physical discomfort. To escape it, fanatics double down. They deny, deflect, or attack. The goal isn't truth, it's relief. That's why facts rarely change minds. Emotion defends belief better than reason ever can. Historically, fanaticism has always found fuel in collective pain. After humiliation, defeat, or loss, movements emerge that promise restoration, redemption, revenge. Think of revolutionary cults, political extremism, or religious crusades. Each one begins with a wound, personal, national, or spiritual, and transforms that wound into a weapon. Fanaticism turns suffering into identity. It says we have been wronged. They are the enemy. We must fight. It simplifies history into morality plays. Us versus them. Good versus evil. And in that simplicity, people find relief. But fanaticism isn't just out there. It lives in our own habits of mind. In every moment, we dismiss someone without listening. In every time we feel righteous about our side. In every craving for moral superiority. Fanaticism starts small. Certainty without curiosity. Conviction without humility. Philosopher Bertrand Russell once said, "The whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain, and wise people are so full of doubts." He wasn't mocking faith. He was describing balance. Because belief is necessary. We need conviction to act, to build, to change. But we also need doubt to keep conviction human. Some neuroscientists now study fanaticism as a form of identity addiction. The reward systems that light up in substance abuse also activate in ideological reinforcement. Belief becomes self-soothing. Righteousness becomes euphoria. And like any addiction, it isolates, narrows, consumes. But there's hope in understanding. The same brain that becomes rigid can become flexible. Exposure to new ideas, empathy, conversation, art. They all rewire the neural pathways that feed extremism. Because fanaticism thrives on distance and dies in connection. When you truly see another person, when you feel their story instead of labeling them, fanaticism loses oxygen. So why do people become fanatic? Because certainty feels safer than confusion. Because belonging feels better than loneliness. Because in a chaotic world, extremes offer identity, mission, and control. But beneath all that, fanaticism is a mirror, showing us our hunger for meaning, our fear of insignificance, our longing to matter. Maybe fanaticism isn't just madness. It's meaning gone too far. Belief without balance. Purpose without pause. And perhaps the cure isn't to kill belief, but to remember that truth never needs to shout. Because in the end, fanaticism is not born from strength. It's born from fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being lost. Fear of being alone. And when fear wears the mask of certainty, we call it conviction. But when conviction forgets compassion, we call it fanaticism.